Okay, I just got the go-ahead. Welcome everybody to Dino Dig Live. During the summer, we zoom in live every other week with our paleontology group, which I am a member of, to out west, wherever they may be. Right now, we are in Utah, and our person just dropped off the camera. But I am Dr. Jennifer Renee. I am the assistant lab manager over in the Dueling Dinosaurs lab. So when I'm not out in the field, I'm over there doing fossil work. So basically, after the fossils come back, cleaning them, conserving them, fixing them, getting them ready for research, and doing some research. But you guys don't want to hear about that because you can just go in the Dueling Dinosaurs and talk to me about that after this. You want to talk to Lisa Herzog, who is our lab operations manager for the paleo group here. That means she makes sure that everything runs smoothly in 2 paleo labs, so she's got a lot of work to do here. But hey, Lisa, why don't you tell us where you are in time and space right now?
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. Hopefully the wind is kicking up. I don't know if you can hear that. I am in
1 second,
Utah.
Lisa, we are having some technical difficulties. Yes, only from all the way up on high can you hear Lisa right now. But everybody wants to hear about what Lisa's doing. And you guys can kind of see in the background there one of our trucks, and you can also see our gur, which is a big tent that we keep our equipment in. They are a Mongolian kind of tent, so they're good for the wind, except sometimes when we use them, and then they like to break in the high wind. But that's another story. But you can also see that she is in the middle of
Better?
nowhere. Oh, there we go. Did we get it? We're good? I'm going to wait for the thumbs up.
You good?
Thumbs up. Yes.
Okay.
Okay, now, Lisa, tell us where you are in time and space.
I am in Utah. We're just south of I-70, which is kind of like the highway that runs through the middle of Utah. The nearest town is called Emory. It has a population of probably about 500. And we're working in the Cretaceous right now. We're working in the Cedar Mountain Formation, the Mustn't Touch It member. And we have kind of 2 quarries open right now. The crew right now, I sent them off to work. So they're down in the quarry. I'd love to be doing this from the quarry because so you could see us working. But the quarry is kind of in a basin and there's really no cell service there. And so we're unable to stream from there. I am at camp. We're a little bit higher and I've got some cell boosting equipment here that makes this possible. And we are excavating right now. We have 2 little quarries open where we're at, and we're pulling out mostly Eolia material from a deposit that is. It seems like there was a river and a wash there, and so the bones are not in articulation. And we're just pulling out a lot of different elements of an Eolia from there.
Okay, I think I can kind of guess where you are. So for those of you who don't know Eolambia, it's like a little duckbill dinosaur. But Lisa, why is it an important area to go dig in? Like, why would one want to go to the Mustn't Touch It? What scientifically is important about the Mustn't Touch It?
Mustn't Touch It is really important because it's a transitional time, and there's a lot of species transition during this time that we don't have a lot of information on from the fossil record. And so we're trying to complete the fossil record and build it out. And this field work is led by Dr. Lindsay Zano in her research program. Since she's been working in this area, she and her team, we've uncovered and named 4 new species of dinosaur, which is really helping fill in some of those gaps. Some people may be aware of those ones that we have named. One of them is called Siach micororum, which is a big apex predator. One of them's Moros intrepidus, which is a small theropod, which is kind of like an early tyrannosaur, that helps us understand tyrannosaur evolution a little bit better. And then we have Iani Smithii and Fotna Herzogii, which is the most recent one.
That last one, the name sounds a little bit familiar, Lisa.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, Fotna Herzogii was named after me for my efforts in helping in our paleo efforts through all the years by our recent grad, Aviv Avrahami.
Very well deserved. So, what kind of environment were our transitional dinosaurs stomping around there in Utah?
So during this time, there was a seaway. So we're kind of in the western interior seaway. It's kind of hard to imagine that now because it's so dry and we're very, very far from the ocean. But this would have been actually really close to kind of like if you can imagine the Gulf of Mexico going all the way up to Utah. That's what the environment would have been like. And we're kind of like would have been on the delta. So it would have been very lush and green and um, a lot more water around than there is now for sure.
So, kind of feeling like North Carolina right now, hot and muggy and full of all kinds of things that bite.
Yeah.
So, besides dinosaur fossils, which of course are the coolest, let's just put it out there. But what other kinds of fossils can one expect to find there in the Mustn't Touch It?
We find a lot of croc material. Most commonly croc teeth. We find a lot of isolated croc teeth. They were constantly growing their teeth in their lives, so they're losing them all the time. But we also find osteoderms sometimes. And then we also find a lot of turtle material out here. Those are the two main other things that we find.
As well as some eggshells.
Yeah, eggshells. Yeah, help me along here, Jen. We have some microsites that have turned up quite a lot of a variety of material, such as like garfish and mammal teeth, and other dinosaurs like an ankylosaur, and we've got a ceratopsian out here possibly that we've never found a skeleton for. And I think there's some sauropod material as well, which is kind of rare. Mostly we're just finding the teeth.
Oh, not the dreaded sauropod word. Those things are big.
Yeah, I know.
I used to dig them up, so I'm partial to them, but they're big. So, of course, we're out there to do science. We want to learn about the ancient ecosystems. So, when we are digging, when we're actually doing a quarry, what are the steps that we have to do to make sure that we are collecting all of the necessary information to make sure that we are doing everything by the science book?
Yeah, it's not just collecting fossils, it's collecting the context that they're in. We're looking at the sediment that is surrounding them. A lot of times we just collect the sediment so it can be analyzed. We're looking for ash layers from volcanic activity that will help us precisely age date these animals. And then when we open up a quarry, we set up a grid and we map all the bones that come out of the grid so we can see how they're arranged, which will give us an indication of if they were in a stream bed, if there was a definite directional flow, and it might give us an indication to which direction we want to dig. If you know the bone is trending in one direction, you can dig that way. And I don't know if the team's got the pictures up there, but I did send a picture of our team mapping one of the quarries before the bones come out. We put them in spatial onto a grid map.
We'll try to get that up, I promise.
Yeah, well, I know. I
It.
sent them kind of late last night because I can't, without the cell booster, I get like no service out here. One of the things that we're also contending with out here right now is there's a couple of wildfires burning near Bryce Canyon and south of us, and the predominant winds are trending north. And so there's a lot of smoke and haze. And we actually had to take a day off just to drive to fresh air because the air quality was so bad. Everybody was thinking, oh, my lungs are hurting. I need to get to fresh air. And luckily, we were able to drive to an area that had less smoke in the air. But I suspect that it's interfering with my cell signal as well. Right now, it is hazy. I don't know if you can tell behind me. But usually the skies are much bluer. It's hazier today than it has been, though. So I don't know. We'll see. We're looking at the maps.
Yeah, I was going to ask about those forest fires. Those of you in the audience, they sent a picture the other day, and it was so smoky that you could barely see that GUR that's behind Lisa. So some real current environmental issues going on there. But how about the climate in the Cretaceous? What was going on at this point on the Earth as far as climate that's also kind of interesting?
The climate was a lot warmer at the time. This was well, I'm not sure when exactly it was, but it's close to the Cretaceous thermal maximum. And so you're looking at a planet where there's no ice at the poles or anything like that. And so just globally, everything was a lot hotter, a lot warmer. But there's, what we see in the fossil record is that there still was a great biodiversity happening. When we look at microfossils and, not just the big things that we find in the ground, but, all the little tiny things too, we can see that it was a thriving ecosystem out here.
Okay, and then could you tell us a little bit about the crew that's currently out there with you? Because I think you have quite a diverse group of people helping us.
We have a total of 6 people. So there's me, and then there are 3 grad students. We have Steve Finch, who's a PhD student, Emily Cross, who's a PhD student, and Kyle Obzuski, who's also a PhD student. We have 2 volunteers. One of them is somebody who lives in North Carolina who's looking into going to grad school, wanted to get some experience. He's doing quite well. He actually came out with us last year too. And then my son is out here with me, and he's 15, and this is his 3rd year out here actually, and he's doing really well.
Okay, tell him I said rocks and sauce. He'll know what I mean. We have a joke. Because yes, it's more than just the paleontologists out there. We take volunteers as well. So again, for those of you who are just joining us, we are out in Utah with
You're
Lisa
kind of
Herzog.
frozen on my end. I don't know if you can still hear me.
You're not frozen.
So I've been out here for a little bit over a week. The 3 grad students have been, prior to coming here to the Mustn't Touch It, they were out in New Mexico for about a month. So they're a little bit more desert worn than we are, and we're kind of catching up to them in dustiness and tiredness. It gets when you're out in the sun all day, every day, it really kind of wears you down. You got to make sure you're not getting sunburned and stuff like that. But it is. The weather here hasn't been all that bad. It's been sunny. The worst thing about the weather here right now is the
smoke.
The smoke in the air. It hasn't been super hot.
Lucky.
It is sunny, but it's been in the kind of high 80s, I think. It's been cooling off at night. We sleep well.
Oh, I'm jealous. It stormed on us in New Mexico so badly that it was like a flash flood. It was great experience for the undergrads who were out there with us because I was out there in New Mexico with them. And yeah, Lisa's, besides, she got wildfires, but she doesn't have high winds and torrential rainstorms and thunderstorms. So I guess, there's never a perfect field season week, but sometimes you get those nice days. So I've been talking a lot. So now I want to see if anybody who's in the building or anybody who's joined us online has any questions for Lisa. And hopefully one of our lovely IT people here will let me know if someone has a question. And if you're down in front, if you'd like to come up and use the mic so you can talk to Lisa, you can. Or if you don't want to talk to Lisa, even though she's a lovely person, you can let me know the question and I will talk to Lisa. You got a question? You want to come up? No? Question about volunteers is where do we find these crazy people who volunteer for us, Lisa?
Oh, they come to us. We don't have to recruit or anything. People just come up to us and say, "Oh, can I help out? Can I volunteer?" But some people sign up through the museum's website, has a button for volunteering, and you can sign up to just indicate that you're interested. Now that the Dino Lab is open, we get people coming through there that talk to you, Jen, a lot, I know, and other people at the front table and, inquiring about volunteering. And you can just email the museum or you can email me. I organize the volunteers. We're not always taking new volunteers, but you can get on our radar just by sending an email.
So that's for the prep lab too, folks. Just saying.
Yeah.
Just saying. That's where most of the work happens.
When we're collecting a lot of stuff while we're out here, and then it all comes back to the museum. And we have quite a stockpile of specimens that need to be prepared. And so a lot of that stuff gets done by volunteers in the lab. That is what we need the most.
We have a question from Kim on YouTube. Did you find any ammonites?
No, we're not in an area where we would find ammonites. That would be more like ocean sediments, deep sea. We're more coastal here. We don't really find that. Every once in a while we find like clamshell hash. But that's about it.
And Kim also wants to know about volunteering and how to get involved.
Yeah, go to the museum's website, naturalsciences.org, and find the volunteer link. And there's a form you can fill out online to express your interest, and then the volunteer office will forward that to me.
I'll also be in the Dino Lab all day. Just saying. Do you have another question? Okay,
and
we got another question.
Also, yeah.
Do you want to come up, or do you want to just relay it to me? Oh, everyone's shy. Okay, Lisa, the question was, what kind of homework do we have to do before we decide where we're going to dig?
Oh, that's a good question. Fortunately, the entire U.S. has been geologically mapped. So in general, you can find the types of rock that you're looking for. And different paleontologists all study different things. We happen to be working with Lindsay in her program, and she specializes in theropod dinosaurs and also in the mid-Cretaceous. And so you're going to look on a map, you're going to find rocks of the age that you want to study. And those areas are fairly well known, but the mapping is getting a lot better as more people work out here. And so you would start with geologic maps to figure out where you want to go.
Okay, yep, we don't just dig. Any other question? Oh, I got one over here. So the question was, and I already said this is going to be impossible to answer because it's different for each one, but give a general breakdown of the length of time from point of discovery in the field to rolling up to Sean here at the museum and collections.
Oh, like how long does it take to collect things?
So length of collecting and then prepping and then it going into collections.
Oh, going into collections, that can take a long time. I mean, we always prioritize what's most important. When we collect stuff out here, we collect everything we find, but certain things have priority. And if it's a priority, it could get prepared within a year. If you're talking about research on a specimen to publication, you can, that can be 1 to 2 years up to like 10 years. So the newly named dinosaur Photna herzogii, that was kind of 10 years in the making. From the time that we collected that material, it took a long time to prepare it. is very difficult to prepare because the specimen is very delicate. But the nice thing about that specimen is there's a lot of material. And so we have a lot of comparative material, but it takes a longer time to look at that stuff and measure it all and put it in a matrix so that we can analyze it and, classify it correctly as to what type of dinosaur it is.
Yes, so for all of you who want to just dig up dinosaurs, you're going to have a second job because that's the smallest amount of time we spend on a specimen. And this is why I will put out, again, that we love volunteers in our prep labs. Do we have any other questions?
A few more. We have a few
online.
So James, who said he and his son helped excavate Nancy in 2006 in Eolia, says, what was the environment?
Okay, yeah.
What was the environment of the site like back then?
Jane. Jane from the Hell Creek? Jen, do you know?
I think they said Nancy. Did you say Nancy?
I mean, not Jane. Nancy.
Yeah, Nancy is Hell Creek.
Nancy is Hell Creek. So that's like the same formation that the dueling dinosaurs are from. And that was like a very tropical and lush environment as well back then. And lots of dinosaurs come out of that formation. So there was enough vegetation to support a very thriving population of very, very large dinosaurs because you had things like Nancy, which is an Eolia, and they kind of were sometimes they're referred to as the cows of the Cretaceous because they're so commonly found. But there's also lots and lots of triceratops, as you know, are very large. And then, of course, all the plant eaters supported the ecosystem for things like T-Rex. So you had a lot of large-bodied dinosaurs living at that time. So it was a very lush environment with lots of vegetation.
And Elias has two questions. What are the biggest misconceptions that the public has about dinosaurs or paleontology in general? And have you come across any plants, fossil plants?
Misconceptions. I think paleontology is more than dinosaurs, I think is one of the biggest misconceptions. And paleontology is not the same as Indiana Jones anthropology. We don't study human cultures or human remains. It's a different field of study. The paleontologists study all life on Earth back to the beginning. And dinosaurs first kind of evolved about 230 million years ago. And in that time, there's lots and lots of other things that existed and lots of really interesting things that can be studied to help us understand how our planet has changed over time. And paleontology, I think also, people think of what they see on TV and, it's very glamorous and, you were out here wrangling dinosaurs and stuff. And to an extent, it can be kind of fun that way. But it is a lot of hard work and we're out in the desert. It's hot and we're tired and, it's a little bit different than that. And yes, we have found plant material. There are a couple plant sites out here. Sometimes the depositional environment when fossils are formed, like a certain type of environment favors the fossilization of bones and a certain type of environment favors the fossilization of plant material. And so a lot of times you don't really find them in conjunction with each other. And out here, we don't really find plant material with the fossils that we're collecting. They're like their own separate site.
Yeah, we don't take showers for like 3 weeks, so it's not glamorous, and nothing's better than ice once you leave the field. I feel like Tom Hanks in Castaway. Got another question?
Yeah, for real. Actually, I got to go to town today, get more ice. We're out of ice.
Always need ice.
It finally all melted. We have like these big industrial coolers that keep ice for a while, but after about a week, you're pretty much done.
Yeah, no picky eaters in the field. We got compromised kitchen. What's your question? Okay, so this is, I think, more of a geography question. But if there a difference between a sea and a seaway, which I think I can guess what you're going to say, but I am going to let you take this one.
Me? What's the difference between a sea and a seaway?
Not a segue.
No, not a segue. Yeah, a seaway is kind of like a space between two land masses. So the Western Interior Seaway, at one point it went all the way up through Alaska. Then it kind of closed up from the top and came down until now we just have the Gulf of Mexico down there. And a sea is just an open area that's not really bounded by land masses. Is that, would you agree with that, Jen?
I think the big thing too is nowadays we call a sea something that's very constrained, that usually only has one opening. And the Western Interior Seaway, so we were talking about Nancy from the Hell Creek, that's 66 million versus where we're out in Utah, which is getting closer to your, 90 to 100 million. That came and went a bunch of times. And as Lisa said, actually connected between the two. So we lost Lisa too. Oh, there she is. So it was going and receding and going and receding. So sometimes it had the two, and sometimes it just had the one. So when we tend to talk about seaway, mostly because we were referring to the Western Interior Seaway, that is what it's called. But this is also why, in the Hell Creek, you don't get as much marine influence because the sea is way far away. And then there in the Mustn't Touch It, they get a little bit. So it's more like, Raleigh versus going about an hour east and you're getting closer to the ocean, if that makes any sense. Just because the sea's going boop, bloop, 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 back and forth, back and forth. Lots of times.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Another question over here? Okay, so the question was, we're all done. We're packing up from that site either forever or for the field season. What steps do we do to do kind of site remediation, and if there are fossils still in the ground, protect the fossils for next year?
Yeah, so we'll do one of two things. If we have completely cleared a quarry and we're confident that we've gotten pretty much every bone out of there, we'll shut it down by filling in the hole. And so that will be like a half a day to an entire day of shoveling, of just shoveling the sediment that we took all that time digging out. We put it back in and try to make it look natural. I mean, it's really hard to make it look like original, but the rock does weather pretty fast out here. If we want to come back to a quarry and there's still, there might be bones that are exposed that we can't get them out this year, we'll have to wait till next year to come back. We'll cap them with plaster and burlap so that they're protected, and then we will put a tarp over the area, and then we bury the tarp in. So that surface is protected. It's easy to find when we come back. We know right where we left off. We just have to unbury it. So that also is like a day and a half, or a day to a day and a half a day of just filling in the quarry, shoveling it, and trying to make it look natural, because we don't want poachers to come and take our stuff either.
Yeah, we also are working in modern ecosystems, so we're trying to do our part of not making it look like a strip mine out there, which is wherever you dig, you should always be due diligence on that. Okay, do we have any other questions in the house or online? Anything online? No? Okay, well then, can everybody join me in thanking Lisa for braving wildfires and hiking up mountains to get a cell signal to join us today? They're all clapping for you, Lisa.
Yay! Thanks for coming out.
And I'm pretty sure we see you in 2 weeks, correct?
Yeah, I'll still be out here in 2 weeks.
So there you
Maybe
go.
I'll have some exciting updates on something super cool we found.
Well,
yeah, I found like a complete metatarsal yesterday and a couple of toe bones. That was cool.
Nice. I do love feet because they tend to have pathologies, injuries that the animal survives. Well,
Oh,
hopefully
yeah.
you'll have less wildfires, more cool fossils, no high winds, and it'll just be a
Yeah.
beautiful day in the Mustn't Touch It. Okay, well,
Yep.
again, thank you everybody for joining us here and online. In about 2 weeks, we will be joining Lisa again for our next Dino Dig Live. Hopefully we'll see some new updates, and like I said, they'll have less wildfires, which is always a hope. But again, thank you for joining us, and if you haven't checked out the Paleo Labs yet, please do. Bye, Lisa.
Bye.